Have you ever faced a problem so big, so tangled, that it felt completely impossible to solve? What if I told you the answer wasn't a clever plan or a show of strength, but something much simpler? Something you do every single day? Today, we're diving into the enchanting tale of Qalbaz, a story that will change the way you look at challenges forever. In a small, bustling village nestled between rolling hills, lived a man named Qalbaz. He wasn't a king or a warrior. He was a storyteller. But Qalbaz had a special gift. His laughter was contagious, a booming, joyful sound that could make even the grumpiest old man crack a smile. He believed that a good laugh was the best medicine for any trouble. One day, a shadow fell over the village. A grumpy, fearsome giant, known only as Grom, settled on the only mountain pass that connected the villagers to the world beyond. Grom wasn't just big. He was miserable. He blocked the pass, demanding ridiculous tolls and scaring away anyone who tried to pass. The villagers were trapped. Their trade stopped, supplies dwindled, and a cloud of despair began to settle over their once happy homes. The village elder called a meeting. The strongest warriors proposed a fight, but they knew Grom was too powerful. The wealthiest merchants offered treasure, but Grom just scoffed and threw their gold down the mountainside. Everyone was out of ideas. The mood was grim. The village that was once filled with music and laughter had fallen silent, replaced by whispers of fear and worry. They felt helpless, cornered by a problem that seemed to have no solution. Just when all hope seemed lost, Qalbaz stood up. He wasn't carrying a sword or a bag of gold. He was just holding his small lute. "Let me go," he said, his voice calm amidst the panic. The villagers were shocked. "What can you do, Qalbaz? You're a storyteller, not a giant slayer," one of them cried out. Qalbaz simply smiled his warm, familiar smile and said, "Perhaps the giant doesn't need a fight. Perhaps he just needs a good story and a good laugh." Despite their doubts, the villagers had no other choice. They watched with bated breath as Qalbaz, a lone figure with a tiny lute, began the long walk up the mountain pass toward the grumpy giant. As he got closer, he could hear Grom's grumbling, a sound like rocks grinding together. The giant sat slumped over, his huge chin resting in his hands, looking like the saddest mountain in the world. Qalbaz didn't shout a challenge. He didn't make a grand entrance. He simply sat down a safe distance away, tuned his lute, and began to play a cheerful, silly tune. Grom lifted one massive eyebrow, annoyed by the interruption to his brooding. He glared at Qalbaz. "What do you want, little man? Have you come to be tossed down the mountain?" His voice boomed. Qalbaz didn't flinch. He just kept playing his tune and then he began to tell a story. It wasn't a story of heroes and battles. It was a funny story about a clumsy squirrel who tried to hide too many nuts in one tree and ended up getting stuck upside down. Qalbaz acted out all the parts, making squeaky squirrel noises and wiggling his feet in the air. At first, Grom just scowled. He crossed his massive arms, determined to stay grumpy. But as Qalbaz continued his tale, detailing the squirrel's ridiculous attempts to free itself, a strange thing happened. One corner of the giant's mouth twitched. He tried to suppress it, but it was no use. When Qalbaz described the squirrel finally falling into a pile of soft leaves and looking utterly bewildered, a low chuckle rumbled from deep within Grom's chest. It was a small sound, but to Qalbaz, it was a victory. He immediately launched into another story, this one about a frog who thought he could sing opera, and a fish who tried to learn how to fly. He told tale after tale, each one sillier and more absurd than the last. He sang funny songs, did little dances, and didn't stop until he was out of breath. Soon, Grom's low chuckle turned into a proper laugh, and then, a full-blown, mountain-shaking belly laugh. The giant roared with laughter, tears streaming from his eyes. He laughed so hard he rolled onto his back, his feet kicking in the air, much like the squirrel in Qalbaz's first story. The sound wasn't fearsome anymore. It was pure, unadulterated joy. It echoed through the valley, and the villagers below heard it. They looked at each other, confused but hopeful. When Grom finally caught his breath, he wiped a tear from his eye and looked at Qalbaz, not with a scowl, but with a genuine, massive smile. "Little man," he said, his voice now warm and friendly, "no one has ever made me laugh like that. I've been so lonely and so grumpy for so long, I forgot what it felt like." Grom explained that he wasn't truly mean. He was just incredibly lonely. All anyone ever saw was his size and his grumpy face, so they either ran away in fear or tried to fight him. No one had ever just talked to him, or better yet, made him laugh. The tolls, the blocking of the paths, it was all a clumsy, misguided attempt to get some attention. Qalbaz listened patiently, and when the giant was done, he said, "Why don't you come down to the village with me? We have plenty of stories, and I guarantee plenty more laughs." To the astonishment of everyone, the giant agreed. He stood up, and instead of blocking the path, he cleared it, tossing a few giant boulders aside as if they were pebbles. When Qalbaz walked back into the village with the giant Grom strolling happily behind him, the villagers were speechless. Fear quickly turned to wonder, and then to relief. Grom, the fearsome giant, was now their friend. He helped them rebuild the parts of the road he had damaged, used his great strength to help with heavy lifting, and became the village's official and very large protector. And every evening, he would sit with Qalbaz and the other villagers, listening to stories and sharing his own booming, joyful laughter. The village prospered more than ever before. The path was open, and their community was stronger and happier. They had learned a valuable lesson that day. They learned that some problems aren't solved with swords or gold. Some of the biggest, scariest, most impossible-looking problems in the world can be disarmed with a simple act of connection, a funny story, and the powerful, healing magic of laughter. So, the next time you're facing your own giant, whether it's a tough project, a difficult conversation, or just a bad day, remember Qalbaz. Before you draw your sword, try telling a joke. Before you despair, try to find a reason to smile. You might be surprised to find that the simplest, most human solution is often the most powerful one. Thanks for watching today's story. I hope it brought a little bit of Qalbaz's magic into your day. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales that warm the heart and tickle the funny bone. Let me know in the comments what you thought. And until next time, keep laughing.